Okay, everybody, I hope you can see and hear me now. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, hopefully you can hear me now. Thank you for letting me know. I always mess something up with this audio interface. There's too much audio gear here. I hope you can hear me now. Yeah, please let me know if you can hear me, everybody. Yeah, awesome. Okay, Scott, thank you. Thank you very much. You've got my back, people. You got my back, my NJ fam. Thank you, everybody. I was just saying, like to myself, nobody heard it except me. Adam's going to be joining us very shortly on the call. Please let us know where you are dialing in from. Elaine is here. Great to see you. David's here from Bristol. James is here from Indiana. Frank, hey Frank, good to see you again. John's here from Brighton in the UK. John, I hope it's warmer for you down there than it is here. I am absolutely freezing today. -2 here in Chester today. Stephen's here from Florida. Great. I'm sure the weather's better for you, Stephen. Bruce is here. Hey, Bruce. Good to see you, my man. John's here. Awesome. Everybody, thank you for letting us know. It's always great to see where everyone's dialing in from. People from all over the world being brought together to discuss music. Absolutely amazing. Such a cool thing. Rick's here. New Jersey in the house. Yes, Rick. We need you here, my man. Antonio's here. Great. Everybody, thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. Hey, Adam is here.
Good
all right,
morning.
Adam. Good morning, mate. Adam, you missed the standard like Musicmakers false start. I started speaking to everybody without. There's no phantom power on my audio interface.
Oh, you gotta have your phantom power. Yeah. Oh, geez.
Dude, it gets me every time. I always forget to enable phantom power. Like, why doesn't this thing just remember that the shotgun mic needs phantom power? Like, why do I have to always manually turn it on?
I have the same problem with my interface every time I turn it on, and I'll go to record something and go, "Why is that waveform not there?" Oh, something must be wrong with my entire setup. Let me go pull 100,000 cables out. No, you just didn't press the button, man. You just didn't press the button.
That's how it goes. Adam, how are you doing? So everybody, like Adam has been up all night with his baby son, but he's here. We messed up the timings for the call, and he's still here. Like,
good.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at a man who woke up 10 minutes ago.
You like that? You like that? Yeah. See them bags? You can't see them. You know why? Because I've got good lighting.
Yeah, and you've enabled like touch up my appearance or whatever it is to like hide all the wrinkles and like bags under your eyes and like.
No, actually, I didn't know that was a feature. And now, Mike, you need to have to show me where that is because, yeah.
Do you know what? Just for fun, before we begin, let's see if I can turn it on. Like, I'll turn it on full and just see like how weird my face looks. Let's see if we can find it here. Okay, this is live. This is a live test, right? It's going to go on in. Let me come up really close so everyone can see. Right, let's see my wrinkles disappear. 3, 2, 1. Right, it's on full now. Like, did anything change?
Yeah, a little bit. It just softened your appearance a bit, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's going off. 3, 2, 1. Oh God, there I am in all my horror.
That's raw, no natural, my man.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Listen, everyone. We've got a packed show today. There's so many cool things that I wanted us to run through. We've got an artist of the week. We've got an album. We've got several songs that we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about some guitar pedals and effects. We're going to talk about some cool scales, like a sort of lesser used scale, which is lots and lots of fun. Sounds very cool. We're going to speak about bass guitars as well, which is going to be cool. It's I think that's a first for us. I don't think we've ever discussed basses before. So yeah, that's going to be very cool. Everybody, before we dive in, please let us know if there's anything in particular that you would like to chat, that you would like us to chat about today. Please post it in the chat. The whole idea is like this is one big epic Q&A and a discussion. And unfortunately, because we're here on YouTube, it's not as interactive as we'd like. We can only get your questions. We can't put you on the screen. It's kind of us broadcasting at you. That's the nature of what we're doing here on YouTube. If you become an NGA member by scanning the QR code over there, then you can take part in the members live streams, which are more interactive, and you can speak and play your guitar and ask us whatever you want. But here on YouTube, we're kind of stuck with the chat. That's as good as it gets, people. So if you've got questions, please post them away in the chat. Antonio says, I hope my boss isn't watching this, lol. Nice. Antonio's watching the live stream at work. That's very cool.
I already called your boss. I told him don't even worry about it. You're good.
Oh, Adam dropped you in it. Adam's a grass. Baz is here from London. Baz, great to see you, mate. All right, cool. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we can dive in. Yeah. So Adam, first of all, today I wanted us to talk about. Um, I wanted us to discuss playing bass guitar
Hmm.
as a guitarist. Okay, now you and I are both primarily guitarists. I, of course, have a bass guitar. I've got a couple of bass guitars.
Yeah,
I
same.
play them. I fall into the trap of playing them like a guitarist. Like I try and play lead guitar on the bass, and that's very much not the bass's role. Like how when you're putting a piece together, mate, you're composing, with many tracks. You're scoring films. You're doing all kinds of stuff that's much grander in scope than what I do. I'm just a kind of basic rock and roll dude. But like, how do you think about the bass when you move over to play the bass from your guitar? What are you thinking? How do you shift gears? What's the change in vibe when you pick up a bass guitar? Give people some overall direction.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Mike. So basically, sorry. Um, it's early in the dad jokes are
Oh,
flying.
that was good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So basically, like I consider the bass in two formats, or two kind of main like structures. One is just solely as a rhythmic instrument, and that can either be something that just plays the same root notes as whatever the guitar is playing, or it could be something that's either playing like a harmony of that's complementary. But either way, in the rhythmic structure, we're just thinking about it as something to interact with the guitar and the drums, right? Or
Yes.
percussion or whatever. The other way that we can think about bass is as a moving melodic instrument, where the bass is actually able to provide more melody underneath the guitar. Now, you might think of like something like a walking bass line, for example, is a really good example of
Yeah.
this.
Paul McCartney was great at that. He would have almost like counter melodies going on. Some of the Beatles stuff, like the bass is amazing on some of the Beatles songs.
I think it was 8 days a week where he's just basically like walking around the intervals on the guitar the entire time.
Yeah.
And I love stuff like that because like every single person in rock music has undervalued the bass guitar consistently for
Yeah,
forever.
mate.
And I'm
That is
looking
so
at you,
true.
Metallica. We all know what you did to Jason Newsted. Okay. Mixed him right out of the record. But that also set like a weird precedent of like, oh, I guess bass is just guitar with four strings. It's not.
Yeah.
I play a 5-string bass myself as well. It gives me a bit of an extra low end range. And it's great because once you start playing bass alongside playing guitar, if you write music or if you're a songwriter of any capacity, you're going to start to miss that sound of the bass in your
Yeah.
arrangements, right? You're going to want it right away. So yeah, typically two structures, either solely as a rhythmic instrument, typically following either the drums or the guitar or both, or as a moving melodic instrument that's able to provide more melodic structure around other things that are happening in the arrangement.
Such a cool way to think about it, Adam. I'd never thought of it in that way. It's like two different categories almost, like two different, styles and approaches, like very different as well, quite distinct, different ways of approaching it. I've definitely fallen into the trap in the past of marginalizing the bass
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's sort of easier to do that because it's like because it's such low frequencies. It can be easy to miss, especially nowadays when people are listening to music on their bloody phones. I mean, can you think of a worse way to listen to music than through the speaker of a smartphone, for God's sake?
No, I
Like,
can't.
but it's super common, or like, a lot of people have, Alexas and like things like that in the kitchen. Like these tiny little speakers. Like, this sounds so bad. But I think bass guitar. I think certainly in a sort of a rock and roll context, I think it's probably the instrument that gets the least love, I think, overall. And like you underestimate the bass guitar at your absolute peril. Like
You do, and it is at your absolute peril. But it's a cool
yeah,
thing, though, too. I will say that a lot of bands in the rock sphere nowadays are really prioritizing the bass. There are a lot of rock groups out there right now that don't even have a guitar player. I think it's Royal Blood, who I believe are
yeah.
from the UK. Their bassist just did a signature bass with Fender, and it's a short scale bass. And basically, what he does is he
Oh,
just
I saw
uses an
this.
octave pedal, yeah, and he uses an octave pedal to jump up for the guitar parts. Death from Above, 1979. They're from Toronto. Grand lads, those guys.
Yeah,
And I think it's either their front man either plays guitar and octaves down to bass, or he plays bass and octaves up to guitar.
Let's give everybody a super quick demo of that. All right, so here's my guitar. Let me first of all, before we do this, Graham, we need more Paul Weller on this show. Thank you for posting that comment there. Town Called Malice by the Jam is a great bassline intro. I mean,
Cool.
that's such a great tune. That's such a great tune. That's like probably like peak the Jam, that, isn't it? Yeah, we need more Paul Weller on the show. I love Paul Weller. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. I love his voice. I think he might be the most underrated vocalist in British rock history. There's so much soul in his voice, so much character. The way he really drags every last bit of emotion out of the lines that he sings, and he hardly ever gets mentioned. When people talk about the best vocalist of all time, and like, he never gets mentioned. The guy's an absolute god. I love Paul Weller. Okay. Yes, mate. Adam, check out Stanley Road, the album Stanley Road. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. Yeah, Wildwood's good as well, but Stanley Road, I think, is my favorite. Okay, so an octave pedal, right? For anybody that doesn't know, so there is an E note on my bass guitar. Okay, I turn my octave pedal on.
Wow, that tracks really nicely, doesn't it?
Okay, so if you don't have a bass guitar to hand, then you can just use an octave pedal. It's a very quick way to get bass sounds. Now, it's not as good as using a bass. To me, I get some weird artifacts and stuff when I use an octave pedal. Maybe I need like a better quality one, I don't know. Using an actual bass guitar, to me, is still the best way to do this. But if you don't have one handy, an octave pedal is a great backup. It's a great backup option. So Adam, let's give people some quick tips, and then we're going to move on from bass guitar. If somebody wants to get started with some basic bass guitar using their guitar, or so like whether it's with an octave pedal or whether they're just like getting a bass, I always say to people, if you're not sure what to do, just play the root notes of the song.
Yeah.
So if the chord progression that somebody's playing is like A minor, F, G, something like that, then it's absolutely fine to just bang out those root notes. On the bass, that would be a perfectly serviceable bass line.
Keep that going. I'm going to grab my bass.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, that would be fine to play. There's not much, melodic movement happening there, but that's a perfectly functional bass line. So in amongst the other things that are in the mix, that's fine. So I always say that that's the starting point. If you just want to play some bass and you want it to work, just play the root notes and kind of play them almost as you'd tap your foot or clap your hands if you were, listening to the track. That pretty much always works. Of course, there's a million other things you could do, but that to me is the easiest thing that works, that you can hang your hat on and know is going to work every time. Adam, talk to me about that bass, dude. Is that gold? Oh, I've lost your audio. I cannot hear you, my brother. I've lost your audio.
It's this is a modified green Squire, like metallic green Squire Contemporary 5.
Hold it up, let's see the finish. I can't quite see. It looks sort of gold, metallic green, you said.
Metallic green, yeah, like a forest green. I love this bass. Unfortunately, it looks like the pickup is dead in it because I'm not getting any signal. But yeah, no, this is a Squire Contemporary 5. I actually picked this up used off of a friend of mine whose father was a bass player and modified this with like a more enhanced string tree, a new bridge, and also like a kill switch. This is like one of my favorite instruments. I love this thing so much. And I don't get to play it as often because it's just supplementary to everything else that I write. But what I will say is I'll just try to do this without any signal. But like Mike was saying, you can just kind of ride your root notes all day long when it comes to playing bass. Or the other thing that you can do as well, if you kind of have an idea of where some of your notes are, even just within a major scale, play that A major scale the same way you would on a guitar. I'm going to start, this is my E string here because I have a B string below. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And what you can do is if you're playing around, sorry, A is up here. If you're playing around in A, for example, you can go 1, 1, 3, 3, 5, 5, 1, 1, or so 6, 5, 3, 1. And you can dance around those chords and start to add some color. The big thing that you want to keep in mind if you're considering bass and you're playing bass, and especially if you're playing it along with a guitar player, is you want to be conscious of stable notes, right? So make sure that you're leaning on your 1, your root note, your minor third or your major third, depending upon what key you're in, and your 5th, right? And remember, too, that no matter what instrument you're playing on, if it's tuned like a guitar or like a bass, if your root is here, you go 2 frets down and 1 string down, and then you have your 5th. And you can even just ride those 2. And you can create some really cool sounds that'll supplement the rest of the band. And the other thing that you want to keep in mind is if you're jamming, always pay attention to what the drummer is doing. Always. The drummer will always tell you where to go where rhythm is concerned, and the guitarist will always tell you where to go where melody is concerned.
Yes, very cool, very cool. I think that's the main thing, isn't it? You've got to sit with the drummer when you're playing the bass. Like you need to, you basically, you and the drummer are a team. Yeah, the
Yeah, you got to lock it in.
You gotta be tight together. Everybody, some good chat there. Thank you for some of the comments that you guys have posted in chat there. Graham said the Fender Mustang GT amp has an octave shifter patch. Very cool, very cool. Baz said I've seen a 6-string bass from Burns. Any good? Very good price. Baz, I'm not familiar with them. I've never bought any guitars or basses by Burns, so I can't speak to that. If anybody in the chat knows anything about that guitar brand, please let us know. But the Yamaha 6 resides at the studio. Nice, Bruce. Very cool.
Ooh, 6-string bass. Very nice.
Yeah, Graham says, what's the difference between a jazz bass and a precision bass? Adam?
This is a really interesting question. So,
Adam, sorry. So just to set this up for anyone who doesn't know, they're the two most like dominant types of bass guitar, I would say. So like in the bass guitar world, you know, pretty much everybody sort of, they're like the Stratocasters, aren't they?
Yeah,
like
Strat versus Telly.
Yeah, like a Strat and a Telly, you know, in the guitar world, the precision and the jazz are the two, you know, counterparts to that in the bass world. But yeah, Adam, what's the difference between a jazz and a precision bass?
Yeah, so I did like a lot of research on this when I was trying to find a bass, and I actually ended up settling on the Squier Contemporary 5 because it is a hybrid of both of those basses.
Oh, cool.
So if you want something that strikes down the middle and you can find one, the Contemporaries are a little difficult to come by, or the 5 strings are anyway. Look at a Contemporary by Squier because that's kind of the nice hybridization of the two. But jazz bass, and this is kind of, you know, some of the internet purists will probably destroy me if they ever see this video, but in my opinion,
they won't. Adam, they're not here. There's no trolls here, man. It's a troll-free zone.
They can't hurt you here. Trolls can't hurt you. Yeah, so a jazz bass for me has a bit of a kind of a softer, rounder tone to it by nature. Also plays a lot better with flat wounds, I've noticed too, than a precision bass does. I had a friend of mine who put flat wound strings on his bass, on his jazz bass, and they've lived there for years. Yeah, if you don't know flat wound,
they're a must, I think. If you're going to get a bass, I think you have to put flat wounds on. It transforms the instrument, I think.
Yeah, I'm not 150% sold on them, but like I'm also a fan of like that nasty, like Dingwall bass style gank. If you've never heard of Dingwall bass, they're made here in Canada, and like, oh my god, they're like they just assault your ears. They're so good. But like I like that like snap crackle pop that comes off of it a lot. So I was never really partial to the jazz bass myself. P bass or precision bass has got a bit more attack. It's a bit more angular in its sound, and it's a bit just nastier in my opinion. The way that it plays. But more well suited for rock and roll, blues, and those types of things. But again, if there's an internet purist in here, they're going to come back and be, you didn't know this, blah, 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 because of whatever. No, that's my opinion. Jazz bass is rounder, and precision bass has better attack, and that's basically that. And if you want both of those things, go buy a Squier Contemporary. They're cheap. They have active pickups, which is my only beef with them, which is why you couldn't hear the sound of it, because I guess I left the switch on overnight. Sorry.
Yeah, you burned it out. So, by the way, Adam, I'm gonna get Chris to clip that impression of you being an internet guitar purist and we're going to use that regularly.
This one is a meme. Dude, that's what I think of these people. Honestly, every single
Yeah, that's
time
what they get.
before I cut my hair, when I would post videos on the internet of me playing for like content and stuff like that, some dude in his 50s is always in there like, oh, back in my day, we didn't need to tie our hair up in a bun and then you look like a real man. What are you, a yoga instructor? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, actually, I like yoga a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
None of your business.
Yeah, and I'm no less of a man for liking yoga and having short hair in a bun. Be
You
strong,
know what?
I
Just
think.
because I'm mentally more clear than you are, because I take the time to heal myself and take care of myself, not your business, brother. Go take care of
Exactly.
yourself.
Yeah, go
It's
and
a
breathe,
downward
man.
dog in your life.
So listen, I need to reply here. So Martin's arrived. He says, "Hope you got my video, Mike." Yes, Martin, I did.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Martin learned the songs for the birthday party and performed them publicly. Martin, very cool. Thank you, mate. Thanks for sending them in.
I saw those too, Martin. That was fantastic, and you were in there with a really good band too, man. Like you were very well supported on that, and that's like the biggest part, especially if you're going in for one of your first shows. So, congrats,
Absolutely.
man! You done did it,
Martin. No, seriously, mate. Proud of you. Like that's a scary thing for somebody to do, and you did it, mate. Excellent. Very, very cool experience that you had there. Thanks for sharing it with us, mate. Really appreciate that. Baz said that the shadows used burns. Yeah, so I think like the shadows to me, like I've never really dug the shadows, but I think I would have if I was around back in those days. Like they were trailblazers, I think, were they in terms of like guitar and rock and roll. So yeah, I guess if you want to get that sort of like more authentic sound, then it makes sense to go with the same instruments that they used. All right, everyone, we're going to move on.
For 1 second before we
mate.
move on.
Go for it.
I want to contest this based off of some research that I've done recently. If you do want to get the same sound as a band, you can use the same guitars, but also you should look at the types of pickups that they used and their amps as well.
Yeah,
is another really big thing. I've been doing a bunch of tone matching for work recently, just on a couple different projects.
Yeah,
and it's come down to two things: amp selection and pickups for guitars, which I thought was wild. I thought for sure, but like if you want to get that type of sound, if they used a Fender, you got to use a Fender. But like,
yeah, but
if my Plexi,
you know my feelings on this, Adam. I think the vast majority of the tone comes from the pickups. It's not. Yeah. It's not the wood. It's not the. It's not the neck. It's not the this. It's the pickups. It's the electronics. That's what creates the vast majority of the tone. So that totally makes sense.
We talked about this on our members live stream on Monday, and we've got part 2 coming up this Monday. So if you're not a member yet and you want to get in on the conversation and talk about where tone comes from, become a member at NGA.
Thank you for mentioning that, Adam. So everybody, once a week, we have a members live stream where we do a deep dive on one topic. So on the Musicmakers live stream, we tend to go quite broad. We talk about lots of things in a relatively shallow depth because there's only so much we can cover within the hour. On our members live stream, we go really deep on one topic. And then we carry that on in our members forum where people can sort of carry on the discussion. We can post any extra materials in there. On Monday this week, we did the deep dive into pickups, how they work, what they are, like looking at the specifics, like what they're built from, how we use them as guitarists. Yeah, it really was. Like you could do so many different live streams all about that. And then next week we're diving into like tone controls, volume pots, all this stuff, pickup selectors. And how we can shape the tone from electric guitars and acoustics, but primarily electric guitars. If you want to become an NJ member, scan the QR code there, or just go to nationalguitaracademy.com. You can sign up. If you become an NJ member, you get access to Guitar Metrics, so you get your own customized guitar learning plan, specific just to you, pinpoint your weaknesses as a guitarist, show you exactly what you need to do to improve, and give you a customized roadmap that you can follow. You get access to our forum, which is epic. Great to see that growing all the time. It's really, I think, coming alive now, that forum. There's enough members in there now, like, because the membership's been around for like 6 months or so. It's really starting to take off. It's great to see all the people helping one another in there. It's so cool.
And that's the biggest part about it, is like it's
the community. It's great.
Become less about us. I mean, we started this out as like, oh, you know what, like we've done a bunch of courses. Like we want to create a bigger sense of camaraderie and community. And we want to just teach people, closer than what we are right now through the courses that NGA has been selling. And it started out as that. But like the members have just kind of taken over and launched their own kind of safe haven of creativity. And I think that when you really think about it, is what it was always meant to be. I don't
Yeah.
think we anticipated how quickly it would turn into that, though. And like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
great
beautiful.
to see. I know it really is. It's brilliant to see people from all over the world coming together to learn and help one another. You know, it's so cool. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, we're going to move on. I want us to talk about the harmonic minor scale.
Hey,
Right, so
cool.
yes, mate. So everybody who's not hip to this already, there are 3 minor scales. So when we talk about the minor scale, most of the time, let's switch over here. Most of the time, we're talking about the natural minor scale, which looks like this. I hope you guys can follow that. Okay, yeah, that's the natural minor scale in A minor. So when we talk about the minor scale, if somebody doesn't specify it, that's what they're speaking about. But there's 2 other types of minor scale. And the one we're going to talk about here is the harmonic minor scale, which looks very similar, but to me it sounds very different, even though there's only 1 note difference. Check this out. I love this scale. So cool. Okay, so the natural minor scale looks like this. The harmonic minor scale sounds like this. It's 1 note that's different. To me, it just has a really different character to it. So basically, that 7th note is raised one by 1 fret. So that what that does is it creates like a 3-note interval, which just sounds like really exotic and like, I don't know, Middle Eastern or something. I love the way that sounds. If you just want to practice that in its simplest possible form, then play it in E minor. I was playing it in A there, but if you were to play it down here in E minor, let me move over so you can see. So like down here at the note, so if I play an E minor chord, then it would look like this. I'm almost falling off my stool here. I need to change the setup here. When I get squished over to the side like that, Adam, I'm literally almost falling off my chair. I love how that sounds. Adam, talk to me about the harmonic minor scale. Like, how do you see it? How do you use it? How does it fit into the guitar world for you? When do you like to use it? How does it help you as a composer?
I grew up on death metal. This is everything. Plain and simple. Yeah, no, it's cool because Gary Westcott says it sounds like it should be in Western. And a lot of people also say that this sounds like it should be a very Middle Eastern or like Egyptian or Arabic type scale.
Yes.
And you're all right. It's the sound of that raised 7th. The thing that blows my mind about harmonic minor, especially at a beginner level, is how much the tonality of the scale changes based off of 1 note. The only difference between the natural minor and the harmonic minor is that 7th, and it's raised 1 fret, 1 note.
It sounds so different.
But you know, like you can get these amazing like lines. Like one of my favorites that I'm working with right now, and I swear to God, I've peppered this into like 5 tracks so far. I need to stop. Someone's gonna catch on. But like, is this here? And if you do that fast, it's just
sounds great.
And it's this really cool, just like way to like stop a progression and turn it around.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and then there's so much mystery to this scale, and there's so many different ways that you could do it. I mean, like the typical way that anybody would say is like, you know. Right? You can get that really kind of like spooky, mysterious sound out of it, but the real power in the harmonic minor scale doesn't come from just playing that note. It comes from the chords,
yes.
right?
Well,
it comes from the chords.
Adam, that's perfect because Graham has just asked, are there any well-known songs that use the harmonic minor scale? Dude, there's loads.
Yeah. There's so many. I can't like see, again, metal background. I could be like, go listen to Funeral Thirst by the Black Dahlia Murder, but like, you know, it's I don't know if that's necessarily like what people are after.
Loads of the Beatles songs, loads of
Oh,
songs.
really? Beatles
Yeah,
songs?
like Nirvana songs, David Bowie, like you name it.
Oh yeah,
Because
Bowie. There we go.
Adam, if you explain what you were about to, then that might make a bit more sense to Graham. So like, yeah, so if we think about this rather than it being a scale, if we think about it in terms of chords,
Yeah.
then it might make a bit more sense.
Yeah, because like you just basically like have your raised seventh at the end there that creates this tension, right? So
Yeah.
if we that just gives you more of an ability to like create turnarounds in songs. Even look at blues, for example, like that typical like diminished sound that you hear before you go to the one. That's a raised seventh.
Yeah.
So even like any sort of like blues turnaround type thing, you hear that in
Yeah.
as well,
Or
right?
even like I think I'm right in saying this, Adam. Like you know way more about theory than me, but I think I'm right in saying that like when you're playing in like C, you know, like when you're playing in that, like you should be playing E minor, shouldn't you? So like E minor is, you know, it should be right in C.
Yeah.
But if you a way of interpreting the harmonic minor would be that's what makes E major work, or E major 7. You know, so like that works because you have that raised 7. So like so you know, a lot of the time when you hear a chord, I've mentioned this before, but from a songwriting point of view, when you hear a chord in a song that sounds great but also slightly surprising, that's often because the chord isn't strictly within the key. If you're only hearing chords that belong in the key, then there won't really be anything surprising in the song. There might be bits that you like, of course, but it's unusual that you hear something and think like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that." Because if everything happens within one key, it's probably not going to happen. But if you step outside the key, even for just one chord, you know, then immediately it's like, "Oh, something happened there that I didn't expect." A great example of that is in there where we were in the key of C. So if I just play the notes from the C major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the third there is E, isn't it? We go C, D, E. So that should be minor. But if we make it major, it creates something different. And I don't want to dwell on that because it's kind of a more advanced music theory point. And I know that we have lots of beginners that follow us, so like I don't want to go too far down the theory rabbit hole. I just want to say, check out the harmonic minor scale, have fun with it, think about the chords that can be built from it. Please don't write it off as like a curiosity that's like over there somewhere that you don't need to worry about. It's super cool. Sounds amazing. Sounds so cool. Get some of those like big exotic, whether you would think of them as Middle Eastern or like spaghetti westerns or whatever. Such cool tones. There's some really. It's the 3-note interval, isn't it? That's like, it's just so wild, man. I love how that sounds.
I love it.
Sometimes,
It's amazing.
yeah. Just sometimes I'll just sit and play that at home, like with my 335, and like I'll have like, some nice amount of compression on there, some nice reverb going on, and you can just kind of just play around, just do some really like dreamy like soundscapes and like atmospheres. Love it.
Yeah. I'll give you guys like a free little chord progression actually to go along with this quick. If you're in the key of A minor, I got sound here, yeah. Take that exact same shape and just move it up one string set to your A string.
Yeah.
That E major, and then take that and move it down one fret. And don't mute any of the strings in the process. Just and you can play that out quite nicely. And if you want to get really nasty, when you're in that little F position at the second and third fret, take your index finger, move it back.
Oh, tension.
But that's where you really start to hear that harmonic minor. It's not just playing the like Pink Panther style. It's where you start to build it into chords that you really start to hear how beautiful and also how nefarious this scale is. It's great. I like that. Love it. Check it out.
It is a nefarious scale. I like that. Good description. Bruce said that in that chord progression, D minor F is a borrowed chord. So yeah, so a good way of thinking of like when you step outside the key for a moment, is that phrase that Bruce has used there, a borrowed chord. That's when you just step outside the key for a minute to sort of to borrow a chord from a different key. Sometimes that creates some of the best moments. Everybody, right, we're going to move on. Before we do, I just want to say, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're enjoying this video, if you want more stuff like this, please subscribe to the NJ channel. We're trying to reach 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And at the moment, it's like touch and go. We might make it and we might not. So please subscribe to the channel if you want to get more of this stuff.
Oh, we got a month. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. I'm confident we will. I'm confident we'll do it. Okay, next up, everybody, we're running out of time, so we need to sort of move through this kind of at a bit of a faster lick here, Adam. One of the questions that I saw in the forum recently, which I don't think we've covered before, is what is an effects loop? So one of our students was asking, what's an effects loop? Like, what is it? How do we use it? Why does it matter? Do you want to take this one, Adam?
Yeah, I can give kind of like a run and gun explanation of that quickly. So essentially, when you're using an amplifier, typically when we set up our pedal board, we just plug that pedal board into the front of the amp through the input, right? So your guitar goes into your tuner pedal, which goes through your entire pedal board, then goes to the front of the amp. This is typical. A lot of people do this. Some people prefer not to, and so therefore they use what's called the effects loop, which is in the back of the amp. Now, I don't do this personally, but again, I'm not an amp guy anymore. But essentially, what it does is it's just another pathway for the amp to process the signal from the pedal board, right? So essentially, to my knowledge, I believe that the effects loop means that you're putting the effects in between the preamp and the speaker, whereas if you're going in through the front, the pedal board is actually going straight into the preamp, which is then being channeled to the speaker. To my knowledge, the effects loop, and again, I don't use one personally, but the effects loop positions your signal after the preamp, I believe.
Yeah, so the way I've seen people use it, Adam, and this might be different. I guess you could do both, but the way I've seen people do it is that they will use the effects loop so as that they can have an effect running that is independent of the signal chain. So you might have like a pedal board, but let's say you wanted to apply an effect that you wanted, but you didn't want it to color everything that was in your chain, then you could send that over to the effects loop. So it's basically a different way of routing the effects that you want to apply to your signal chain.
Yeah, there you go.
But in my experience, like, it's not, certainly isn't something a beginner guitarist needs to worry about. And in my experience, it's more for like, when I've seen people using it, it's when you've had like a band that's got some like really complex like setup on the stage, or where they've got like, loopers, synth sounds, drum machines, and like there are times in that scenario when you need to separate out what's going where, so it's that it doesn't affect one another. If you're playing in like a classic sort of, I don't know, like a sort of classic guitar-based band, with like, bass, rhythm, lead, drummer, maybe some keys, you probably don't really need to use it. Worry about effects loops. Certainly, I think of them as relatively niche things, but I do know that people use them. But hey, I'm not really a technology guy, I'm more of a like, just give me the guitar, let me plug it into the amp, get a tone I want, and that's enough for me.
Yeah. Vernon Reid from Living Colour does a bunch of stuff with his effects loop, but if you see that guy's pedal board, it's like terrifying. Thing's huge.
Yeah, I think it depends on the sort of style of music that you're using, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the context of it too. Yeah, I'll be full disclosure. I don't use an effects loop. I don't even use an amp anymore, to be honest with you, unless I'm playing live, which I don't. So yeah, it's not something that I've used primarily a lot. So if that explanation was a little bit shoddy, my apologies. But yeah, Mike is also definitely more correct, where it is used to kind of split off inputs and parameters a little bit for a bit more control.
And like you say, Adam, just for if people want to directly use the preamp, which I'm not really bothered about, I'm fine for it to just all go into my pedals, and then for it all to arrive as one thing to the amp.
Just that's signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah, that's sort of okay for me, but I know some people like to go deeper than that. Okay, next up, I want to speak about our artist of the week, and that is the Kinks. Okay, now for anybody who isn't like doesn't understand who the Kinks are, number one, come on, like, what's wrong with you? Have you been living in a cave? Number two, the Kinks are one of my all-time favorite bands. They are a British band that started in the 60s, and I think that the Kinks have written some of the most memorable and unique songs that I just love them so much. They're very, very English. They're very idiosyncratic. There's lots of storytelling. There's lots of beautiful melodies, really nice harmonic moments, and lots of humor as well. There's so much fun in the Kinks music, and I think like Ray Davis, like, just what an absolute legend. Just so cool. If we're going to throw some songs at you guys that maybe for people to get started with the Kinks, I would say Elaine says, "I love the Kinks." Yeah, dude, I love the Kinks. So cool. Kinks were big in the 60s. Yes, mate, but some of the best music was made in the 60s. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. But if
Agreed.
something was good in the 60s, it's probably still good now. The song Waterloo Sunset, the band actually wanted to call it Liverpool Sunset. Well, that would have been a much better title for it, Gary, because anybody who spent any time by Waterloo, you know, in London, they know it's not very nice. And Waterloo Sunset is like this absolutely beautiful, innocent song. There's so much beauty in that song. And yeah, it does, I think it's kind of incongruous with the location of being like, Waterloo in London's like, yes, Bruce, they
So many
were,
places named after, like, we have so many places here that are named after places in the UK. Sorry to just completely random, but you're like, oh, Waterloo, London, Scarborough, like these are all places in Ontario.
yeah, 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 it's wild, mate. I know it's crazy. I've noticed that before.
Yeah.
It's the same in Australia. Very similar over there. There's like loads of places that have got their English names,
Right.
and some of the places in Australia are like way better than the English equivalent, which makes you feel kind of like kind of annoyed.
Yeah.
So listen, a couple of songs to get started with. If you're new to the Kinks, right? I'm going to throw a few at you, right? Lola, just
Yeah.
hilarious, so much fun. Ape Man, again, just absolutely hilarious, so funny, such an interesting, unique song. Waterloo Sunset, one of my all-time favorite songs. I love that song. Sunny Afternoon, and of course, You Really Got Me, which was their breakout hit. Which I think Jimmy Page played that solo. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Page played this. Yeah, so that shredding, like distorted
Yeah.
guitar solo on You Really Got Me.
Cool.
Yeah, Jimmy Page from Led Zepp was a session guitarist at the time, and he actually played that solo.
That's awesome. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to, Gary, that's great. Gary said the lead singer of the Kinks love Liverpool. But Gary, that's great to hear. Like, I already loved Ray Davis anyway. But that makes sense because Liverpool it's his kind of place, isn't it? It's a creative, left-leaning in its politics, socialist kind of city. So yeah, I get that. Yeah, so everybody, please go and check out the Kinks. If you're not new to if this is new to you, like, just go and listen to the Kinks, man. It's so good. It's so good. It really, like, to me, they they transport you to another place, and I think the best music does that. It's like it removes you from where you are, it takes you somewhere else, and then when the song's over, you're like, damn, like you come back to where you are.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Yeah, I've always loved the Kinks. You Really Got Me, Lola are such great songs, man. And they're all really cool because they're geared for beginner guitar players as well. Not that they were written that way so that other
Yeah,
people could play them, but like You Really Got Me is very easy to pick up if you're a beginner guitar player.
such a great track. It still sounds great as well. Like, even now, like today, all these years later, it's still got energy. It's got
Yeah,
attitude. There's a presence to it. It's very, very cool.
and it's very
I,
highly covered too.
yes, yeah, it is. And I think the Stranglers did. The Stranglers cover it, or was it another track? Because I think what was it from? Oh gosh, it was Chrissy Hind, wasn't it? Chrissy Hind married Ray Davis. I think I'm pretty sure about that.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, from the Pretenders, she married Ray Davis. Yes, so Blue Boy says they will play Death of a Clown at my funeral. Hopefully not too soon. Not the Kinks, but Dave Davis. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, they did. Barry said the Kinks had a great influence on punk. Yeah,
Oh
they
yeah,
did. See, great music. I think it transcends generations and it transcends genres.
agreed.
you know, and there's so much amazing musicality in the Kinks music. It just totally makes sense that it will get kind of repurposed and come back in the future. And that's why those songs have stood the test of time. You know, here we are now, all these years later. You know, and there's some dude on a live stream talking about how ace the Kinks are. You know, I bet Ray Davis never thought of that back in the '60s.
Yeah.
Adam, what was the your musical recommendation from the other week? Just before we wrap up, there was you recommended it on the members live stream. Was it on Monday or was it the Monday before?
Oh, it was Monday before was Florence and the Machine's Dog Days Are Over.
Yes. No, that wasn't the one. There was another one that you recommended a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to spotlight it here because I enjoyed it. Maybe it wasn't.
Trash Former by Donna Grantis.
Yeah, maybe that was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was the one. I love that song.
Yeah, Donna Grantis is an amazing guitar player. She's like a rock jazz fusion musician. But fun fact, she was Prince's last guitar player before he passed away. Rest in peace to the greatest.
Yes.
That broke me a little bit. But yeah, Donna Grantis was Prince's final guitar player with Third Eye Girl, the band that he formed before he passed away. She is this amazing jazz fusion guitar player, but she keeps a lot of like rock influence in her playing, and that's what I really dig about it. She's also a devout PRS player.
Is she?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that ties in
Mm-hmm.
nicely with Johnny's question. Mike, off topic, is your guitar a humbucker? Yes, this guitar has 2 humbuckers on it, as you can see there. Anybody who's not sure about this, a humbucker is when you have 2 pickups side by side, but they're wound in opposite directions, which cancels a lot of the noise. So you don't get a lot of the hum that you would get from a single coil. So that's why it's called a humbucker. It's also a higher output pickup. So is that the signal that comes out of the guitar sort of, you know, it hits your amp a little bit harder, which can be good depending on what type of sound you want. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. But yes, humbuckers, as we covered on the members live stream.
Yep.
Very, very cool. Johnny says, looking for a humbucker entry point recommendation. Adam, what would you suggest here?
Anything by Seymour Duncan. That's what I play.
Yeah.
And the reason that I like Seymour Duncan is the pickups. They're very, very, very well made. A lot of the time with cheaper pickups, you'll find the poles will start to dip after a while, which will affect your tone. I'm having that problem with my Strat. I need a new middle pickup for that reason. And that's because I cheaped out on the middle pickup. Shouldn't have done that. So, you know, but yeah, Seymour Duncan, all of their pickups are extremely well made. And they offer a variety of different tones depending upon what you're looking for: rock, blues, metal, jazz, you know, singer, songwriter, whatever.
I like the way they just have like colors as well. Don't they just have like colors? There's like, you know, it's like it's when you're trying to figure out their range.
Maybe
I find it a bit easier to figure out than some of the others. You know, there's like a purple, there's a gold, there's I just like, I remember I was looking earlier this year at just buying like a cheap I was going to buy like a kit guitar,
right,
but then spec it out with, you know, good quality pickups,
which is the way to go.
Yeah, and I was inspired by a local luthier to me, and he put like I'm sure it was called something like a rainbow set of Seymour Duncans. So cool. it was like a Strat style guitar, 3 single coils, but one was like, I think it was like in the bridge, it was like a P90, you know, and then like they were like 3 different styles of pickup. Yeah, it was really cool. And I just like the idea of having that versatility. Remember on the members live stream, Adam, when Bruce showed us his guitar that had like all of the things. Like,
literally he could, all the things. Yeah, I love it.
He could do everything on there. You know, it's like, you know, the humbuckers, the single coil, the coil split. It was basically like that, and I thought it would be a cool experiment to do and like explore that. And Seymour Duncan pickups, I think one of the things I think, Adam, with the Seymour Duncan pickups is they're super consistent.
They are.
I don't think they make a bad pickup. You know, it might not be what you want, but I don't think they make any bad pickups.
I've got several. I really favor their hot rail style pickups myself, just because hot rails are kind of where I live, and the bridge pickups, they're on all my guitars. Yeah. But I really just like the fact that they have so much to offer, and that they are, like you said, so consistent. You don't get that from every single brand. The other one, if you're in the UK and you want something super defined, go check out Bare Knuckle. But
Yeah,
they are a
that's what
little
I'm
bit
looking
more
at.
on the boutique side. But like you put a bare knuckle in one of your guitars, it's not leaving your guitar ever.
Yeah, yeah, that. My stepdad is building a guitar at the moment,
Yeah.
and that's what's going in. Bare knuckle. We saw them at a trade event recently.
Yeah, they're partnered up with the company that I'm endorsed with here in Canada as well, Contriver Guitars, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
cool. It's cool too because like I've been talking with Brett, the main builder there, and we're developing a custom guitar that's kind of like designed for composers type thing.
Yeah,
And because I don't see a lot of guitars like that, I end up having to cycle through like 3, 4 guitars in a single session to get what I want. But and we're designing this kind of build together for it's more built for composers and the first and foremost thing was like we need to have a combination of different pickups. It has to have single coils and it has to have humbuckers. P90s I don't really care about, but I at least have to have one single coil and at least one humbucker, if not 2 single coils and a humbucker.
yeah,
Because it makes more sense. It gives you more versatility. And it's funny is you can look at a guitar like what Bruce had on the live stream and go, wow, that's a lot. But at the end of the day, that guy's got every single tone he could possibly imagine in that guitar at the flick of a switch.
yeah.
That's it.
And yeah, it's handy.
Yeah.
I was looking at the bare knuckle Stormy Monday pickups, Adam. Like they're like a bluesy
Yeah, they're so
humbucker
good.
pickup. Yeah, they're meant to be awesome. James said, right, super quick before we run out of time, there's a couple of questions I want us to hit on. James said, how do P rails compare to single or humbucker?
P rails?
Yeah, does he mean hot rails?
No, I believe there are P rails. They're like a hybridization of the P90 and the hot rail. To be
Ah,
honest,
okay,
I
okay.
haven't tried them. I don't actually have a lot of experience with P90 pickups at all. Those and PAF style pickups I just try to avoid, mostly because
Why?
it's hard. What's that?
How come, Adam? Like, why are you actively avoiding them?
I
So
just
I'm looking to get one. I've got my eye on a Les Paul Junior. It's got P90s
P90s.
in it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a little bit outside of my zone, really. I kind of live in the realm of single coils and humbuckers, and
yeah,
to be honest with you as well, from my position as a composer, it's hard for me to start factoring in new sounds and find a place for them. So
yeah,
my whole thing is if I can't justify at least 5 different places to use that sound, I don't buy it. So that's
yeah.
why I kind of tend to stick to buckers, rails, and single coil
You've
pickups.
got more discipline than me, my brother. I just want everything. It's like, ooh, maybe I can't really find a reason to justify it, but I feel like if I get it, maybe I will find some way I can justify.
I'll rent one at some point, and then I'll call you and be like, "I got, I need a P90 style." But
Yeah, dude, P90 sound great. I'm surprised to hear you say that. Like you're kind of like ruling them out because, dude,
yeah,
you hear somebody playing through some P90s, like you can get some really like beautiful tones, and I love the way they clean up as you roll the volume down.
yeah,
I
that's
like
the
that, you
only
know.
thing with it is that like, and I was talking to Brett from Contriver Guitars about this a while ago. I'm like, what's the point of having 10 notches on my guitar for volume if only 5 of them work?
Yes,
And
yeah,
he said to me, he's like, what kind of tone pots do you, or what kind of pots do you have? Like, what's the resistance on it? And then we've been kind of just like deducing why that is. Effectively, I'm just gonna end up switching out all the pots and all my guitars to something of a higher
yeah,
capacity because again, I've got 10 notches on my volume knob. I want all of them.
yeah. It would be nice, wouldn't it? It would be nice to have that like specific, flexibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Everybody, we are rapidly running out of time. Let me just
Yeah.
quickly go through these comments and just see if there's anything else that we can hit on before we run out of time here.
And we got one special thing for you guys. So when the clock hits 10 o'clock, make sure you don't leave because we have a really cool announcement before you all head out.
Very cool. Okay, Martin. So Martin is the guy who played at the birthday party, and he says, "Question: Haven't had a taste of playing live. Where is a good place to progress from jam, open mic night, etc." Martin, it's great to see that you're being drawn into this. Playing live is a lot of fun. It is the number one thing I miss about being in a band. Actually, I didn't miss it for a while. I needed to just step away, like from I hit it really hard for a long time.
Yeah,
So I was happy to stop playing live, but I do miss it, and I am thinking about doing it again. It becomes like a drug,
it
and
is.
it's lots and lots of fun. And also, in a lot of ways, playing live is I'm not going to say it's the point of learning music, but it is one of the moments where you get to really like express all of that hard work that you've put in. So I totally get why you would want to do it more, Martin. It is good fun. I think the best place to progress is Yeah, I guess, yeah, jam and open mic nights are good, but also just playing in more informal settings, even just playing in front of friends and family, is still a performance. And also, in my experience, people get really scared. So, like, playing like publicly in front of almost anybody, people tend to get quite nervous. And I think a big part of the challenge of playing live publicly is just controlling your nerves. And the best way to do that is to just do it again and again and again and again. And then you get more comfortable with it. You make mistakes, you learn from them, and so on. So I don't think the format of how you do it, Martin, matters so much as the frequency that you do it. So I would say if you want to start performing live more, just do it, mate. Just do it as much as you can in different settings, whether that's an open mic night, a jam night, whether you're going to get some friends together and learn some songs. Whether that's going to be that you're going to go along and join like a local jam session or club or whatever it might be. Here where I live, there's groups you can go along to. Folk clubs are a great place to meet other guitarists in the UK. And talk to people, learn, watch other people performing well, see what tricks they do, watch what they do, look at their gear, think about how they handle themselves on stage, pick up on the little tricks, small things like strap locks on the guitar so the guitar doesn't fall off when you're playing it.
Yeah.
Looping your jack lead through your guitar strap so the jack lead doesn't come out if you stand on it. Little things like that. They make a big difference.
We've all done that.
Yes.
We've all
Yeah.
done that.
Many times.
Yeah. I love it when someone gets like the blood in their teeth for the first time. They're like, "Oh wow, that felt amazing. I want to go do it again and again and again." Yeah. Welcome to the club, man. You're in this for life now. That's it. There's no going back from here.
You made it. You graduated.
You graduated, man. But congratulations too. I saw the videos as well. You seemed very comfortable up there. It seemed like you were really jiving with the other guitar player that you're playing with. Your band seemed very tight. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, there you go, man. It's such a great feeling because it's this. I know I'm a bit of a hippie when it comes to this stuff, but there's this very big spiritual overwhelm that happens when you start kind of exuding musical energy in front of people for the first time, and when it's coming off of you, and then you're receiving it back from the audience. It's like, whoa, okay, like there's something else there, and it's beautiful, man. It's very
communal,
very beautiful.
Yeah, there's a communal thing. Something bigger happens when you do it. I completely agree.
Yeah.
James says he's got a Les Paul special with P90s and really likes the sound. Yeah, James, so do I. I think it sounds awesome. Very, very cool.
I do not need another guitar. You guys are gonna push me over the edge. I'm not. I gotta get out of here. My wife's gonna kill me.
Bruce is trying to talk you into it too, Adam. We all want you to get one. Listen, we're going to have to wrap things up. Adam, any closing words before we wrap things up for the day?
Yeah, we got an amazing offer for all of you people right now that we have put together with friends of ours. First and foremost, if you're not on the NGA mailing list, you got to go to the website. If you want this offer, you got to go to the website. You got to sign up for the mailing list, and you're going to get an email, and it's going to give you a link to some really cool stuff. We have partnered up with our very good friends at Ubisoft. If you have not heard of Ubisoft, you don't know who they are. They are a video game company. They've made games like Assassin's Creed, but more importantly, they've also made Rocksmith Plus, which is a brand new iteration of an older video game called Rocksmith that actually helps you learn how to play guitar. This is probably one of the coolest things that I've seen. I grew up in the Guitar Hero era. I also grew up teaching kids in the Guitar Hero era. So it was really cool that when Rocksmith came out after the fact, it offered the ability to do everything that Guitar Hero could do, but with an actual guitar.
Yeah, but for real.
But for real, yeah. And
instead of it being an abstraction of playing guitar, like it literally was playing your guitar. For anybody who doesn't know this, you get your guitar and you plug it into the PlayStation, or the Xbox or whatever. Your actual guitar comes with an adapter. You plug it straight into the PlayStation, and then you play along with what's on the screen. It is very, very cool.
It's amazing. And like the fact now too that, Rocksmith itself, it went for years after Guitar Hero. And then as different generations of consoles started to evolve and everything, Ubisoft did the very, very intelligent thing of looking back at this game and saying, how can we modernize this for a new generation of guitar players? So what they've done is they've introduced Rocksmith Plus. It is out now. It is, I believe, already out for PC, console, Android, and iOS. And essentially, this is a video game that gamifies playing guitar for you. Now, if you're an NGA member, you're going to know based off of the courses that you've seen from us and everything else that something like this fits perfectly within our teaching style, right? We have our songbook inside the NGM membership program. We have our courses that teach you everything from rhythm to technique to theory and beyond. But something like this, Rocksmith Plus does an amazing job of helping you take all of those concepts that you've learned within the NGA model and execute them in a game and over a song. And the best part about Rocksmith Plus is that they've got over 7,000 songs and all different genres in their library. So here's what I want you guys to do right now. The Musicmakers live stream link will be up and published in an hour on YouTube. If you want the link before that, go to the NGA website, nationalguitaracademy.com, put in your email address. In about half an hour, you're going to get an email promoting Rocksmith Plus. You're going to go to that link. You're going to get yourself a free 30-day trial from Ubisoft. Try out the software, see how you like it. If you don't have a console, don't worry about it. You can play it on PC. You can play it on Android. You can play it on iOS. You can play it on literally any platform that you want.
I didn't realize you could play it on iOS. On iOS. That's cool.
iOS, Android, everything. These people have done such an incredible job of putting this together. Go check out Rocksmith Plus. Wait for the email. If you haven't signed up for the NGA mailing list, I don't know what you're doing, man. We give away so much stuff for free. Like we give you a live stream for free. We give you more stuff for free. Then you get into a free trial of a video game. Go check out Rocksmith Plus. This is one of the coolest things that we've seen this year. We're really excited to play through more of it, and we've actually got more content coming with Ubisoft. This is just the beginning. Go sign up for the NGA mailing list. Go get yourself a free 30-day trial of Rocksmith Plus, and enjoy, everybody.
Yeah, so just for anybody who hasn't heard me mention this before, but years ago, like 10 years ago, when this game originally came out, like the original version of it, I dismissed it as like, don't get me wrong, like I love video games. I used to write for a video game magazine, when I was younger. Video games, love them to bits. Football, video games, and guitars. That's like basically my whole life. And like that's my life, Like the story of my life is those three things. And I thought, guitar, I don't know, to me it just didn't seem like a good fit for video games. And I dismissed it, and I thought, no, it's not for me. And it was actually one of my students at the time who was like, no, Mike, like you need to check this out. This is really good. And I was sort of reluctant, and he set up his TV, plugged me in, and I was like, I could not have been more skeptical about it. I was really like, oh, it's going to be gimmicky. It's not going to work. It's not going to recognize the notes properly. It's all, I just thought it wasn't going to work. And after sitting with it for about like, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that, I was like, damn, like, it actually works.
It tracks very well.
Yeah. And I was surprised and sort of disappointed that it didn't really massively take off then. And I think part of the problem was that it came at the end of a console generation. So it didn't really get the traction I think that it deserved.
And on the backs of Guitar Hero as well, there was this really big dissonance that started to happen, but with early stage guitar players, it's like, oh, I want to play Barracuda by heart, but it's too hard. I'll play the plastic version. I ran a rock and roll camp for years that like had kids coming in who were like, oh, I want to play every song from the Guitar Hero catalog. And then when I showed them the tabs for Through the Fire and the Flames by Dragon Force, these kids would fall over.
Yeah, or Freebird, that was one of the famous, like early, for the Lynyrd Skynyrd track.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, everybody, like, we're really, really delighted to be partnering with Ubisoft to talk about Rocksmith, to do it. We're going to do a YouTube video on it very soon. Watch out for that email. Check it out, everybody. We're going to go. We've ran over. I'm sorry, everyone. I've got to go. I've got my kids' Christmas fair. I've got to split. Everybody, thank you for joining us today for the Musicmakers live stream. It's always fun. Adam, thank you, mate. Thank you so much for powering through despite only waking up 10 minutes before the live stream. My man. Everybody, thanks for your comments, and we will see you next week.
Go sign up for that mailing list. Go become a member, and go get yourself a trial of Rocksmith Plus. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye.